In the world of .coms, this show is the dot. Welcome to the Flying Pigskin Show, all about your Cincinnati Bengals. With the now seemingly mythical Chris Riva, I'm Ken Blue.
I don't know.
As we now recap Bengals and Ravens in what turned out to be one titanic struggle at Paul Brown Stadium.
Or an awesome game. I mean, it was for the division lead. And
it was.
It lived up to its expectations, I think. Good win, bit of a gift of a win. Not necessarily the best of fourth quarters for the Orange and Black.
If you're sitting at home watching this, welcome. If you're thinking about driving to work, download the app before you leave, and you can listen to us in your car on the way to work. Get that WCPO.com app.
Your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well, two things. One, I think the Bengals were very fortunate. I thought when you give 10 points off 2 turnovers late in the game, you usually don't win. I thought Dalton made plays when he had to make plays. I thought the Steve Smith pass interference call 5 years ago never gets called. Doesn't get called. I don't know what pass interference.
You would lose your mind if that was a
later
Bengals
on
situation.
In the day. It doesn't get called.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
and if
it happened in the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah.
Right.
They were lucky.
But if it goes against your team, like if it was the Bengals in coverage there, you'd lose your mind right now. You'd be saying how you got robbed from that game.
But the thing is, it will go against the Bengals because there is no rhyme and reason to this stuff. And I guarantee you 3 games, 5 games from now, that call will be called against the Bengals in a critical situation.
That was very un-Bengal-like luck. That's what that was. Everything that should have gone wrong didn't yesterday.
But with that said, Matty, the franchise is due a little goodwill towards it.
A little bit.
Well, Bengal fans
overdue,
deserve this, absolutely. So I thought it was a great play by Steve Smith. I'm not going to lie about that.
And I thought it was a great play by George Oloka because he flopped like he was in the NBA.
Yeah.
And riddle me this. At that point in the game, okay, how does the Ravens' best wide receiver gets matched up against a safety? How does that happen?
I don't know. And it was interesting on that play is I believe that Flacco had multiple receivers open underneath, and I was like, he's going deep. I can't believe it.
But that's his best receiver. How do you not have a cornerback on that best receiver? You talk about Bengal luck. That was luck. That was luck.
We'll take it. When you had laces out Nugent from a couple of weeks ago, we'll take it.
Live streaming this every Monday at 7 a.m. and then you can download it. They're all on demand at WCPO.com. But really and truly, get the app and listen to us on the way to work. PJ is here. PJ, hello. You're back. She let you come back for a second week. That's good.
Yes. I think this is a record for longest amount of time married on the flying. Oh, no, wait. I think someone else might have been there. No, it's never mind.
But I mean, it's tenuous at best where I live.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's a day-to-day thing. I'm listed as day-to-day.
Aren't we all? What do the stats say on this game, PJ? What do you think?
Well, interesting thing about Andy Dalton yesterday, which we'll talk about him at length today. He is our poll question for this week. Did he win? Did he win you over? I mean, was there a performance that was yesterday's performance something that brings him back to the limelight?
It'll never happen.
No. Well,
I'm telling you, it'll never happen.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe not.
Unless he wins the Super Bowl, it'll never happen.
And that's
this town hates quarterbacks. This town turns on quarterbacks.
What about Boomer?
They love
Boomer.
Boomer.
They love Boomer.
They love Turk Schonert. Hold on, time out.
Turk Schonert.
They love Ken Anderson, the originator of. He was the first Joe Montana.
But you got to go. How many years you going back, man? You're going back like 30
that's all
years.
this franchise has.
Pre-Mike Brown is
two
what we're
seasons
talking.
in the '80s. We were just talking about this.
Can you guys not see that picture of Boomer behind you? You got a nice picture of Boomer right behind you.
I love the '80s.
Does nobody see that?
They turned on Boomer in this town. I was here. They turned on.
I think one week.
They welcomed him back though.
1 week.
And then he left.
Because
he wanted to go on TV.
Well, and he's doing good now. I think 1 week we should just start talking about the '90s and only the '90s. I don't want to hear anything more about the
Jay
80s.
Schrader.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sad testament to the franchise.
Jeff Curry.
Shake and Blake, baby.
But seriously, Andy Dalton. So he ran for 2 touchdowns yesterday, which if you're able to add into his overall stats, his quarterback rating yesterday is 89.3, very respectable, and especially against a Ravens defense that has a reputation.
It's not great.
It's not great, but it's respectable. If you add the 2 touchdowns, if you take those away from the running game, that's actually a pretty dang good game for Andy. 21-28. That's extremely good. And it's 75% of your passes.
57% of his third downs.
That too, yeah. When it counted. So that's
one bad.
He's not going to get all the credit that he deserves from yesterday.
Yeah, but you know how close you are to this whole thing being the other. I mean, that left-handed pass. There's a reason why God made him right-handed, and we found out yesterday.
He was just trying it out. Ambidextroism.
Or the missed pass in the end zone before that would have put them up.
I just think Dalton won't be in. This town will not embrace a quarter. This is. You correct me if I'm wrong here. This is a town that embraces teams and doesn't like the individual. It doesn't like stars. This is not a star town. Not a star town.
All the Cincinnati
What
Reds.
about Brandon Phillips on the Reds? How do we explain him? He's just fun-loving, likable guy, not really a star though, or
there are so many people in this town that don't like that dude. He's got a lot of followers on Twitter. I'll give you that. But I'm telling you, this is a town that embraces the team and doesn't like the star.
One last thing before
If that
Andy.
Big Red Machine team in the 70s, if that was like 1 or 2 stars, I guarantee you that team would. But everybody was like on the same level with that team.
Well,
it was a team.
Until they won the series, people were down on them. They were like, underachievers.
Well, yeah. Well, the only person old enough to know that, Matt, would be you.
Yeah, I don't.
So.
How do you?
Well, we all remember Pete
down
Rose
on that
and Tony
team
Perez.
In the early 70s.
One last thing.
It was just they couldn't win the big one. They went to the series 2 or 3 times. And
But you grew up here. Don't you agree that this town embraces the team at the expense of the star?
Name another star. The poor Bengals have one Hall of Famer in their franchise history, and they embrace him pretty well. But which is a sad state of the organization. But name another superstar.
Well,
let's bring in another superstar who is beloved by all Bengal fans. Jim, good morning. How are you doing? Jim Breach, are you with us? Mr. Breach. He's not responding to me. We got to check this out. Jim,
I'm here. I'm having a little problem with the audio here. It's going in and out. So.
Okay, sorry. Good morning. How are you doing? What did you think of the game yesterday?
Well, I think that was an offensive pass interference call at the end.
Do you think it's usually called?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it's not usually called when it's going the Bengals' way. So in that case, Ken, to your point, I think there's several that have to happen before it evens up. So no, it was. I thought the game was a great game. I thought the team played really well. Particularly the second half, they controlled the clock a little bit. And overall, that last drive, I thought Dalton made a great play to Sanu, stepping up in the pocket when they really needed to play. Give him some credit. Come on, Ken, give him some credit. And to your point also, Ken, they did boo Boomer right out of Cincinnati.
Right.
The latter part of his career, and then when he came back, I think in '96, everybody fell in love with him again, and he also played just unbelievably well.
Yeah, but I still think, Jim, in this town, this is a team town. This isn't a star town. New York is a star town. Boston's a star town. Coast towns are star towns. In the Midwest, they like team. Team, I think, trumps stars, particularly in the Midwest. That's just my opinion.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that, although Chris Collinsworth was pretty beloved here. And Pete Rose is still doing pretty well.
I agree with that, Jim. I agree.
I'm just saying. It's just my opinion. I think they played well. Jim, don't get me wrong. I think they played well yesterday. And I was screaming for weeks that Andy Dalton needs to make a play. When your team needs you the most, you got to be your best. That's the definition, I think, of a leader, and certainly defines that position. And I think Dalton took a major step yesterday. I really and truly do. I think in the growth of him here as a quarterback, I think that's exactly what he needed to do yesterday.
I totally agree. That was, I guess, a divisional foe coming off of some shaky games, to say the least, the last few weeks, to step up and make some plays. I mean, he made some great plays, and them to run a quarterback sneak on 4th down. What a great play call by Hugh Jackson to spread the field out, so they had to bring in different personnel. So they didn't have those huge guys in the middle of the field, and they were able to. Heck, he ended up about 3 yards in the end zone.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, what I thought was funny on that play, if you watch, Whitworth pulls like it's going to be like the old Redskins counter tray or something, and he comes behind Dalton, pushes Dalton, and then when Dalton's in the end zone, Whitworth is losing his balance, and he's about to fall on Dalton's legs, and he's like trying to brace himself so he doesn't fall on Dalton's. It was hilarious. It really was. A big 300 and some odd pound guy trying to avoid falling on his quarterback's legs. It was hilarious, I
You
thought.
think that one's in the playbook?
No.
Pull and push.
Don't hurt the quarterback in the process. But the other thing, too,
Yeah,
is
don't hurt the quarterback.
this is the
Don't
second
hurt the
time that
ball.
Andy's done this season against the Ravens. He made a play in the fourth quarter and in the season opener as well. What's impressive
Well,
about
I mean,
this
the
week is
pass
he got
to-
off the canvas
The pass to Green.
after a couple of bad plays.
The
and
pass
brought
to
them
Green
back.
was honestly, I thought he was bobbling that thing. Again, they caught a break on that pass in Baltimore. But I really and truly think, Chris, that this guy has got smarts. He's got talent. All he didn't have was that on his resume. Now all of a sudden, I think people look at Dalton. Maybe not you, maybe not me. Maybe we knew this, but I think they're going to look at Dalton and say, okay, there's a guy when he got to make a play, he can make a play. Jim, I want to ask you about how you can, that call on Smith, which I think we're all in agreement. That's going to bite the Bengals at some point. It'll bite every team. But this game anymore, with the way pass plays are officiated, I don't know what pass interference is anymore, and I don't think you can play pass defense anymore. I think that this thing is becoming the Arena Football League, and it's disturbing to me because I'm a football purist.
Yeah, I would agree with you that there's a lot of ticky-tack call. And when you're a defensive back, it's almost like they're not even giving them the 5 yards to make contact. It's difficult. It's really difficult. And probably you're right that call isn't made 5 years ago. They want scoring. They want offense, and they're going to get it, at this rate. But it really takes the flow of the game out of the hands of the players and puts it into the referees' hands, and that's not good.
No,
it just doesn't flow as well.
And as we mentioned before you came on, that same call was in the Pittsburgh Indy game. It doesn't get called. It doesn't get called, and I think that's, I get it. This has always been a league about offense, but I just think if I'm a defensive coordinator today, in any city, I'm saying the same thing I've said probably for the last 2 or 3 years. How do I tell my guys how to defend a pass? How do we do that? It's very frustrating, but it is what it is. And they're in first place now, Jim, which is huge. And I don't know if they got the tiebreaker over Baltimore because Baltimore doesn't have a tie, but they're in much but they're in much better shape today than they were a week ago.
Absolutely, and I think Green Bay's Aaron Rodgers said, "Relax, RELAX." I don't know if you can do that here. I don't know if you can ever relax, but because they just kind of got blown out last night. But at least, I think we thought after New England and then, Carolina was such a devastating game that we thought we'd win, and then the game in Indy, obviously, this was a big step up, not just a divisional game, but I think for everybody's confidence. To go out and play so well and then really have a chance in the next couple of weeks with Jacksonville and Cleveland possibly to put themselves in a really good place here after 3 home games in a row.
Yeah, I'm one of the biggest detractors of Dalton and naysaying Bengal fan like anybody, but you have to give this team this. What Jim said is right. They were playing terrible, and if anybody who had any smarts would have picked a winner yesterday, they would have picked Baltimore after the performances that have been coming on the last couple of weeks. And for them to come in and win, however they did it, is a good team, and it just shows, I think, that even though they lack some composure maybe in tight situations, they got enough talent, even with some of their backups, to still win the game.
Yeah, there's some things, they were a little bit better on run defense yesterday. They've been really struggling with that. They gave up, I think, about 4 yards a carry. But other than that, besides shooting themselves in the foot in the first half, seemed like every time they had decent play, Andre Smith had a holding call, and he's got to get that cleaned up.
Yeah.
That's a struggle because this guy's supposed to be an elite tackle, and the last couple of weeks he has not played well, and somebody's got to get that fixed because it really hurt a couple decent throws, which could have been great drives, and they end up losing. I mean, they were hardly on the field in the first half.
I think he's got to get off of those salads. I think he's gone to salads, and I think he's got to start eating better. He doesn't. It looks like he's lost weight.
Yeah, I have no comment on that. All those guys are really big. They're way bigger than anybody I played with.
But he's been horrible the last 2 weeks. He almost got his quarterback killed yesterday. I mean, in the holding calls, and well, of course, false starts. When you're that big, false start is when you burp. So it's like I think that's an issue. But you know what? Someone once said that the greatest makeup in the world is a win, and if you win, it covers a lot of blemishes. And I think if you're a fan, that's where you are today. They won. They beat Baltimore, the biggest pretender to where they are right now. They got 2 games coming up that look very winnable. And in 3 weeks, this team could be really
well.
super
In this league, you are what you earn,
yeah.
And they earned the win yesterday, no matter how you put it.
Yeah. The other thing.
How about Greg Little? How about that pickup?
I know. Picking him up and then him actually holding on to passes. Yeah, I mean that's that's unbelievable. Oh, I got to ask you about your boy. He had a rough week there a couple of weeks ago. Nugent comes back, and he maybe exercises a few demons, you think, yesterday at Paul Brown Stadium?
Yeah, well, I think in Mike's mind it probably was already exercised when he'd gone through practice and hit the ball great. You can't really dwell on that stuff, Ken. I mean, you can't be spending time thinking about it. The only thing you can think about is the next one. Learn from the one you just had. So I'm sure he went back and learned from that kick, found out, or he probably knew right away what he had done. Go and do it over and over in practice and come out the next week. And in Indy, he didn't get any opportunities. So he had to wait that 2 weeks. So it would have been nice if he'd gotten an opportunity in Indy, got out, just put it behind him. And this week he kicked the ball great, and I expect him to kick the ball great the rest of the way. It's one of those things you can't spend too much time. As fans, we can spend a lot of time. We've got all week, we've got all season to look back at all that stuff. But when you're playing, you can't do that. You got to get ready for the next one and be prepared for the next one. And he obviously was. He hit the ball great yesterday.
It's good to see you again, Jim. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody.
Jim Breach, Bengals all-time leading scorer. There are naysayers in this world, as you well know, Chris.
Yes.
And there are people that really and truly, when they run a team down, they don't often show up the next week. And that's why I think it's just wonderful.
That's why
that the real McCoy, Mike
is real
McCoy,
in his name,
who is not a Bengals fan and who predicted a loss for the Bengals on Sunday, actually comes back into the studio to see if we make him eat his words. Hello, Michael.
Good morning. Okay, before I start, Matt, if you could.
Yes, sir.
Mike Stratton is back there, and
yes,
we talked on Wednesday of last week, and I asked him, did he want to bet on the Bengals game? He's like, well, I don't think so. I don't really think they're going to win. They're just hurt, this, that. And I said, I tell you what, Stratty, I'll take the Bengals and you take Baltimore. And he said that, man, I could never live that down if the Bengals actually.
I said I couldn't root against my team.
Well, whatever. You went with Baltimore. Now, tell the truth, didn't you? You said Baltimore was going to win.
I thought Baltimore was going to win, yeah.
Did you bet on Baltimore?
No.
He can't do that. He's got a conscience.
Did he bet on Baltimore?
Yeah, sure he did.
No, we didn't bet.
Truth is not the first casualty on this show, Mike.
Okay.
No, I didn't. We didn't bet, but I thought Baltimore would win. That's the truth.
Oh, so we didn't bet.
No.
Oh, okay.
So you must be delusional.
I guess so. Well, let's get to the real deal here, Keith.
Yeah, I was hoping you would.
Ask him what he thinks about the poll.
Here's what happened yesterday.
Cupcakes.
Here's exactly what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Just hold on a second, Matt.
All right.
Here's what happened yesterday.
There's going to be some payoff here.
There was a little bit of home cooking going on yesterday. That's exactly what happened yesterday.
You're talking about the pass interference call.
Yes. The official that called that is Andy Dalton's cousin. We found out about that. I'm telling you. I watched the next game.
You did.
These guys are pushing and shoving all the time. And that game, the Bengals did not win that game. That game was given to them.
First of all, what's wrong with home cooking?
Well, nothing, but when it comes back to bite them in the butt, I want to hear the same thing.
Well, it will.
There's nothing wrong with home cooking. It's going to come back to
what goes
bite 'em in
around
the butt.
comes around in that leg. You're right about that. But Mike, when you get a break, when you get a gift, you take the gift and you move on. And I guarantee you, Matt, you know this, you could probably right now come up with 10, 12 games off the top of your head in the history of this franchise that they got jobbed like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, but, I'm not jumping on this Andy Dalton bandwagon. This dude was running yesterday, throwing, like I say, willy-nilly all over the place. I just don't understand it. He I don't know if you've seen this at one point in the game when the ball got loose, he got down on the ground, and he went down, and this big dude just put his elbow in his side. And they had a shot of him on the sideline just grimacing like he had took his last breath. He was actually hurt yesterday.
Yeah.
Dalton really was. He was hurt yesterday.
Well,
I think it was on the second end around with Sanu. He took a shot in the back and stayed in the game. And
But you know, but give him credit for
I
doing
do
that,
give him
right?
credit for that,
You got to
yes.
give him credit for doing that.
Okay, we'll
Look,
give him,
let me ask you this: Andy Dalton,
sucks.
despite the fact that when he had to make a play in that final drive, he didn't make one. He made two. He had the pass to Sanu,
Hold up,
and
give
he
a brother
had
some credit.
the quarterback.
Andy
keeper.
did it to them in
No,
the season
get a
opener.
brother some credit. It was a Sanu show yesterday. That's all you heard yesterday.
Hey, he
Andy
single-handedly
Dalton
might
was
be
just
the MVP of
throwing
this team.
crap out there.
There's no doubt.
Come on, get credit where credit is due. Andy Dalton was the goal of that game, wasn't he?
With the left-handed
You
pass.
got to be lucky, healthy, and good. They were lucky yesterday. That was a given game. And I'm not, okay, I can go back. You know, they won. But look how they won.
No, in the NFL, you take a win no matter what.
Okay, so now we're saying that Andy Dalton is a premier quarterback.
No. Nobody's saying that.
And nobody's denying that Sanu didn't have a phenomenal game and
Right.
hasn't had a great season.
Exactly. But to get to where everybody, with maybe the exception of you, wants Dalton to go, which is be that elite quarterback, you've got to do things like he did yesterday.
Yes.
And too many times on his resume, he didn't have that.
What did he do yesterday?
He led the team to a win.
He led
In
the
the fourth
team to
quarter.
a win?
And yes, in a comeback win, fourth quarter.
After he was knocked to the canvas.
Acting like the Bengals got lucky. They outplayed them
Who,
yesterday. They outplayed them yesterday.
the Bengals outplayed who?
The Ravens.
Well, I don't know about
I don't
that.
know what you was
I don't know
watching,
about
Stroud.
that.
You guys,
I thought the Ravens
talking
played
about
like
bad
they
quarterback
have-
play. Flacco was not good at all. He had 2 picks and should have had 4.
Look, the fourth quarter
I mean-
was not good for the Bengals, but
No.
the rest of the game,
They outplayed them.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Baltimore had a good game?
What?
They got lucky.
Baltimore got lucky that
I mean,
they were even in the game.
I think
Yeah,
Baltimore
they
is a
really
good football
did.
team with a great coach.
I don't know what game you guys were watching yesterday, but anyway,
I think they had Baltimore could
I
have
said
scored
cupcakes
twice
last
and had
week?
horrible
Yeah.
play calling.
All right.
Hey, look what we got. Food.
cupcakes.
How long have these been sitting around?
Well, I don't know. I think the wife just baked them yesterday.
And she put them in that plastic thing like they have at Kroger.
Great. No.
Now, maybe you can help me with this, Chris.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, Chris.
right now, no, Chris.
He thinks I'm
Chris
gonna agree with that.
Chris, no, I'm talking to Chris. Chris, my main man. You my main man right now.
For the next minute.
The Bengals won yesterday, correct?
Yes.
I mean,
There
that
you
I'm
go.
pretty
now,
sure
what
of.
was Dalton's rating? He was what, 21 for 28, right?
Yeah, I think it was 89. PJ, is that right?
89.
Yep, 89.3.
Yep.
Okay, and how many yards?
266.
Okay, where's my 300? How many games has he had a 300-yard passing game? Can you look that up, PJ?
Who?
I'm looking it up now.
Dalton.
I know he had a 300-yard passing game in the season opener against
Yeah.
the Ravens when he beat them in the fourth quarter then.
Okay. And
Carolina,
what- Carolina, that's 2.
Obviously not last week.
2 touchdowns that game. Great game for him.
Didn't he have a
Bad
300-yard
result.
passing game against Tennessee?
No, Tennessee was one of his worst games this season.
That's what I
actually.
thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have another cupcake.
How is that cupcake?
but season,
But Mike, what
but
you're
season
saying is
opener.
you want to see consistent 300-yard games out of him.
Yes, basically because good quarterbacks that can lose and throw for 300.
Well, let me ask you
He's
this
gonna
question,
have-
Ken.
Yeah, but you
he
know-
passes for more yards than anybody ever as a Bengal. The numbers he's going to accumulate because he's on a great offensive team when everybody's healthy. He was the luckiest man in the world to be drafted in the same class and on the same team as A.J. Green. They're going to put up numbers all the time. It's just when you get into clutch situations, which
Right.
yesterday you can I don't give that to him leading him back. He was on the team as quarterback, and maybe they
Well,
won.
but Hank,
But-
use a baseball analogy here. You want a guy that's a 300 hitter on your team, right? Everybody wants a 300 hitter. But do you want a guy on your team that hits 300? Or do you want a guy on your team that hits 300 with runners in scoring position?
Right, or 280 with guys in scoring
Right,
position.
there's a
knocks in.
difference. And I don't care if he
Yeah.
throws for 300 yards. If he throws for 300 yards and throws 2 interceptions along the way and he stumbles and bumbles in the fourth quarter, throw up for 300 yards consistently doesn't mean anything. These are very good.
And
by
I
the
see
way.
what you guys are saying, right? So the Sanu ball
Ken's gonna
at the
get
end of the game, he
diabetes
steps
in
in
the
the
next few
pocket.
minutes.
It's one-on-one coverage. Sanu made the play on the ball. I see what you're saying on that. But in the same token, I see what Ken's saying as well. Is he put them in position. I will beat those down in just a few years.
Yeah.
You know, they
but-
don't put teams in the playoffs because they don't judge them on quarterback yards. They judge them on wins and losses.
Yeah, there's
Thank
some pretty
you.
bad quarterbacks that won Super Bowl.
Don't even
Trent
talk
Dilfer.
playoffs right now, dude. They'll probably get there. They won't go any
Yeah,
further
but
than
300
that.
yards a game isn't going to get us to the playoffs. Wins will.
14 career games with 300 yards or more
Who?
for Andy Dalton in his career. 14 games.
And how long he's been in the league?
This is his 4th year.
Yeah.
How many 200? How many
That's
300?
probably what, a C minus?
No. But you can look back and going back to what everybody's saying back there. Who hasn't he beaten in that time? I mean, there's very few teams that he hasn't beaten, and now even have done it on the road and within the division. He's won in Baltimore.
He's not. He's never. Look, I'll tell you this right now. This guy's been in the league 4 years. He's never going to be Joe Montana. He's never going to be Tom Brady. He's never going to be Drew Brees. He's not going to be that.
And
he
we're
is
never
what
gonna
he
win a
is.
Super Bowl.
And as long as you surround him with the right components, he has the ability to get his team where everybody wants him to go. But he's not. They're not dusting off a bus for this dude in Canton. It's not going to happen.
But you're acting like he was perfect yesterday and throwing that ball yesterday. He was throwing crap all over the place.
I think what Ken's saying is he's finally stepped up and delivered what a lot of critics have said.
Right.
That he hasn't done. And
Peter
that's a
New
fourth
don't
quarter-
jump up and grab that ball. It's over.
Well, yeah, and
It's-
if
come on.
Napoleon had B-52 bombers, we'd all be speaking his language, okay? I mean, what if? What's if?
Because you're saying if the receiver didn't do what the receiver is supposed to do, then we lose
But
a
the
game.
quarterback
yeah,
wasn't
absolutely.
delivering the
Somebody
ball
had to
where
do
it was
his job.
supposed to be delivered. You know, it was a couple of passes before that. He's throwing down at the ankles. He's throwing wide,
But
high.
Mike, in that situation, it was a busted play in essence. He stepped up in the pocket and he gave his player a chance to make a play, which happened.
Okay.
That
He did.
is
And
great
because-
quarterbacks are defined by that as well.
I agree.
No
And
other
when-
great
if you-
quarterback has ever done that in the
if
history
you
than
have a
Brett
different-
Favre,
if you
who
have a
just
different-
lops one up there and says make a play.
If you have a different history, like a Brett Favre, I know you're talking some of the best ever, or Tom Brady, then you sort of think, oh, well, that's him making a play. If it's Andy Dalton, you've seen him not make the play so many times, you're like, Sanu made that play. And that's just an image he's going to have to overcome, and only done by winning.
If you want to join in the conversation, it's the hashtag Flying Pigskin.
That's
Show.
correct.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. And we hope you do join in. But here's the deal. Everybody, like us, in every town is saying the same thing today, with the exception of people in Denver and in New Orleans, or I'm sure there's some discontent with him, or Boston. Everybody wants the same thing. They don't exist. They don't grow on trees. You just can't go out and get yourself somebody like that. So you go out and get a guy that can move your offense and give you a chance to win. And that's what this guy is. Is he worth $50 million over 2 years? No, I don't think so, but that's just the way you do business in this day and age. I love Ben Roethlisberger, but I don't, I'm not sure Ben Roethlisberger with this team is any better. I do. I love Ben Roethlisberger is a winner.
Oh,
A
No,
winner.
he's
In
a
fact-
Steeler. That's why I don't like that.
Well,
But yeah, no,
he's a
you're
winner.
right.
To the tunes
You
of
put him on
100
this
wins
team,
and
and we're going to the
150
Super Bowl.
starts in
Yeah.
his career.
He's
So
a
there's only
winner.
like
You
a
know what-
handful of guys that have done that.
You put him on this team, and we're going to the Super Bowl.
No, you're not.
Yeah, we are.
You put him on this team?
Roethlisberger?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
He's too slow. You put him on this team with Andre
He
Smith,
makes
he's
plays.
dead. That's
he
what
makes
happened.
plays.
Yeah, but he
He
keeps
makes
plays
plays
alive.
all
He
the
does.
time.
He
You know
does
what-
make plays.
What they're
All
saying
the
in
time.
Baltimore right now is Flacco, I think, has like 5 TDs here at Paul Brown Stadium and 12 picks. I mean, it's a pretty
They've always
bad
played-
ratio.
They have always
that-
played good against Baltimore.
That
Yeah,
last
I mean,
series,
so
that,
talk
la-
about quarterback play.
that last series when he's out there and they had the pass call back and all that, he looked like he wanted to be anywhere but Cincinnati. He just looked like, when does the bus leave?
I kind of think he
Because he
always
knew
looks
the
like
game
that.
was over. He knew that the game was given to him. And the fans were even
You think
booing. They
football's
left
fixed?
early.
You think football's fixed?
Sure it is. It's for, they tell you at the beginning of the game
It's
it's for
fixed?
entertainment
That's why
purposes
Roger Goodell makes
only.
so much money.
When the bookie gets on that phone and say, call it in. All right. Andy Dalton's cousin, he over there, call it in. I want my marker called in.
So-
sure it is.
So you think all these games are predetermined who's going to win?
Sure.
It's like soccer, basically.
Sure.
WWE,
Come on.
man.
Then, if that's the case, then you can make a tremendous amount of money on any given season. The Bengals winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
Why hasn't that fix been put in?
Yeah, Miss Cleo doesn't know the
'Cause
outcome
nobody
of
would
these
bet
games,
on
let
that
alone
for
the
most years.
referees.
Because Mike never
But I tell
ponied
you
up
one
the
thing,
money.
I got an ATM machine right here, right now.
That's a
I
good
got an
point,
ATM
Chris.
machine here right now.
Is that Strotman?
It's my ATM machine. And I got another
I
one
changed
back
my
there.
password.
Brian is my ATM machine over there. The guy that said they're going to go 12-4. But let me get back to something
Let's
here.
get back to something.
The play calling yesterday.
11-4-1.
Was it good, mediocre, bad? I just couldn't understand some of the calls that they made. You're 3rd and 21 and you're running the ball.
I don't understand that. But he called a good game on balance. I thought Jackson called a good
But
game.
what about that reverse? Don't they know that people are ready for that reverse if they're running? It's like
They're
In Hugh
looking for
Jackson,
the
I
reverse
believe
on
in.
every play.
I think Hugh Jackson's a
Hugh
great
Jackson,
coach.
he's gone after the season.
He's
He'll
a
be
head coach.
Because why? He's
He'll
going
be
to
a
get a
head
head
coach.
coaching job?
But what about Marvin?
Marvin's going to be here forever.
Why is that?
Because there's nobody else. Don't get me started. There's no
I
Marvin
want to
Lewis.
get you started. Why is
This is where my wrath comes from, where Matty goes to the quarterback. Marvin Lewis, in my opinion, is the worst head coach of this generation.
He certainly
He's had
shouldn't have had
more
the same job for
opportunity
12
than
years or
any
whatever
other
he's
head
had.
coach ever in the history of the NFL, and he is
Without
average
kidding.
at best.
Well, why is he still here? Because the owner hates change.
Right.
The owner would rather have 3 root
Marvin's
canals
To me,
an
they're-
hour than have
In,
being
in
coached.
Mike Brown's world, Marvin is the glory days. I mean, he went through a decade of having the worst team in all of sport, and
Right.
Marvin came and leveled it out. You
No, he
know,
didn't.
what do
No,
you mean?
well, he not right
He
away.
made them average.
But here's the deal.
When before that they weren't average.
This
I
is what
understand.
Mark- this is what Mark-
They were average for 8-8 for 2 or 3 years, and then they went to the playoffs. And this is the glory days for Mike. This is as good as it gets.
Mike, when Marvin showed up, Mike became Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. You never saw the guy, okay? And he became his Smithers. And this guy would go out and he would do all the interviews and take all the flack and do all of that stuff. And Mike could go back to Indian Hill and count his nickels. That's exactly what Marvin Lewis did. And, oh, by the way, he could grind out 8-win seasons or 7-win seasons or 9-win seasons there for a while. And everybody in this town was happy because everybody in this town loves 8-8.
They did.
And then,
Well, when you were 4-12 all the time.
then when it got down to, brass tacks and Marvin was going to go or wanted to leave, he had nowhere to go, but he was going to leave allegedly. Right. He wrestled power from Mike. They got a little more control on what happened on the field, and all of a sudden this team got better in a hurry. The clowns and the characters left the locker room and character came in. The clowns left, Palmer left, everybody left, and he finally got a semblance of a football team here. And what has he done the last 4 years? He's brought a playoff team here. Mike Brown is not an idiot. Mike Brown is a smart man. Marvin Lewis isn't going anywhere. He loves Marvin Lewis.
I agree.
Exactly.
That was my little rant.
All I know
Okay.
is I don't know 2 head coaches. I don't know another head coach that's
I don't either.
been through 2 rebuilding
I don't
with the
either.
same team.
I don't either.
We make fun of Jerry Jones. You make fun of Daniel Snyder, but at least they try.
Let's see what Catherine Nero wants to say about.
Oh, is Catherine
Yes,
with us?
Catherine's going to join us. Good morning, Catherine.
Good
How are you
morning.
doing?
Good morning. What I want to say and what I will say probably are 2 different things. No, I've been checking out the Twitter sphere here, Facebook, Twitter, and you name it. And as you guys might surmise, the Dalton comeback and then Sanu's great catch with the 2 biggies. But it's funny, if you go back, because I was on Twitter during the game and then looking at it after the fact, like during the game when Dalton had that terrible fumble there at the end, 4-letter words were aplenty. Now all of a sudden, he sneaks in the winner. He's a fantastic, great comeback. The roller coaster ride continues. So things change when you win, I believe.
Oh, I agree, 100%. So there's a lot of buzz there, Catherine, is what you're saying. What are people saying about Sanu?
Well, a couple of people are saying that he's the Bengals MVP so far. Actually, Reva, you said that this morning. You believe that he's the MVP.
I do, and let me ask you this question. I asked this to Catherine on set during a commercial break this morning. Is there a better wide receiver in the NFL? I mean, he's up in the upper echelon, in my opinion. Is he? I'm not saying he's Megatron. I'm just saying the guy makes play after play after play. And is he more versatile? And I'm just bringing it up as a question. I'm not saying this. Is he more versatile than A.J. Green?
Well, yeah, because he can throw the ball.
Well, and he runs short route patterns, goes in between.
Yeah,
I
think it's a great 1-2 punch. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep both of them financially. It'll be interesting. They don't have to worry about that for a while. But what I think people like about this dude is like he's. I mean, AJ is kind of like
Catherine's got cupcakes, just in case you're
Michael,
wondering.
let me tell you something. Look what I got. I got Halloween Oreos. I got cupcakes. They're everywhere, man.
She's the team mom.
The real McCoys brought cupcakes.
Are you the team mom?
we
Is
had-
that how
They
that
call
works?
me Mama Bear. I don't know if I really like that.
Really?
Yes, she is.
I'll take it. But no, the one thing you got to remember though, yes, Sanu's great, but what was it yesterday? 5
He's not
touches,
gonna get a lot of money.
125 yards.
You don't think-
The issue is, I mean, he's great right now because he has to be. Let's see what happens when Green comes back and what, I don't know. I feel like he's done an incredible job, and the threat of being able to pass is huge. But Riva's gone out on a limb saying he's the greatest receiver in the NFL right now.
Well, but
I'm going to
I
back
was
that
saying
down
in the
a bit.
NFL. I'm just saying that he ranks right there.
you guys remember when they had Carl Pickens and Darnay Scott?
Mm-hmm.
You can have that. I mean, to a lesser, Hushmanzada was a very good receiver, not great, but very good. They had Ochocinco. You can. That's what most teams are doing anyway. Most teams have that 1-2 punch. What they don't have.
You have to have the 1-2 punch.
What you don't have is most teams don't have 2 wide receivers that can stretch the field like these guys can do. A lot they might have like what they had here, where Hushmanzada was a possession guy and Ochocinco stretched the field. No, this is something that I think a lot of teams wish they had. I go back to Pickens and Scott because this is kind of like the same 1-2 punch they had back there in the 90s.
I will say this: this is not really going out on a limb at all by saying I hope these two are much easier to deal with than Pickens and Scott.
or really, TJ.
Really, is not saying much if they are.
Chad.
So.
Yeah, or Chad and T.O. I mean, there's been some real nonsense on this team when you think about it. Now you got Green and Sanu, who are just basically regular guys, you know?
Regular guys and good guys, too. What's interesting is that's what I'm seeing on Twitter both today and really every Sunday. It seems like this back and forth between is Dalton good for the team? Is it bad for the team? What about his deal? Is this deal a good deal? Is it a bad deal? And I think it all depends on if he wins or not. Because right now, everybody loves him. But if that sneak doesn't work at the end, I don't think that the Twitterverse would be so enamored with Mr. Dalton today.
Well, in an earlier life, you covered sports. Do you agree with my premise that Cincinnati is a team town and not a star town?
I think that's a good one, and partially it's because I think that's the way. It's Midwest. That's the way we are. But I think you also hit on it before. Mike Brown doesn't like change. He's he likes his status quo, and to put one star in the mix. I mean, we saw what happened with Ochocinco/Johnson/Ochocinco again. It doesn't always work, and he also couldn't back it up all the time, which was part of the problem.
Catherine, thank you for joining us. We know your mornings are busy.
They are. They're very busy. Don't you giggle, Reva.
Cupcakes and Oreos. See you later, friend.
Wait, look. Mega Stuffs. Hold on.
You guys are just too cute in the
Man,
morning.
people are gonna catch diabetes working on this shift.
It's true, man.
Catch
You aren't
diabetes.
kidding. I think I already have it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
Catch it.
it's infectious. Yes.
Moves from cookie to cookie.
Yeah, I'm sure the CDC today is worried about people catching diabetes.
Yeah, we're
Vaccine
quarantining the Good Morning Tri-State crew.
There you go. All right, PJ's working on this poll we got on Andy Dalton's performance.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, thank you. Yes, he was great. No, he almost threw it away. We'll see in the playoffs. What are people saying?
Well,
this morning?
we're going to talk about last week's first.
Yeah,
off.
that's
I
last
apologize.
week's.
I
No,
misled you,
no.
sir. I misled you.
No, you're quite all right. That'll be this week's. That'll be on WCPO.com/flying.
Oh, so we don't have results yet.
Not yet on that one, but
That would be like fixing something that McCoy was talking about.
well, we wouldn't want that.
No,
we wouldn't want that.
Want that.
No, what we do have that did indeed come organically, not fixed. Poll results from last week. We asked folks if they're on the bandwagon, off the bandwagon, or if they've never even considered the bandwagon. Ooh. We got some great responses, frankly. The overwhelming majority, and this was after last week, so this is on the downswing of things. The overwhelming majority of people are still behind them, but sometimes what people say is not necessarily how they feel. But I dug up, and Catherine was just on social media, and we posted this as well on our WCPO Facebook page. And I think my favorite response here is the Bengals are like NASCAR. I'm not here to see who wins. I'm just here for the wreck.
Correct. Oh. Put that poll up. Can we see the poll one more time? I don't mean to direct from it, but I'd like to see that poll one more because this addresses one of my pet peeves. How can 14 people not know? You know what? It's like these political polls they release like 2 days before the election. Undecided. How stupid are those people? Like you've had like months to decide this stuff and you still don't know. How can 14 people say they don't know?
14%. 14%.
They were waiting to see this
Indecision.
week.
I mean, that just drives me crazy.
I don't know. I don't know either. I would have to write that down now. I'm not sure. But again, overwhelming majority people are behind this team, and you know, rightfully so. But it is fickle, because there are a lot of people here that just, you know, they suck. Just remember that. Never forget it. They suck. They have always sucked. They will continue to suck. It just, there's some of these responses. Just how much thought did you put into that?
And then shifting to this week's question.
Yeah, so we did mention this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll talk about that. That's all right.
No, that's good.
We'll get the response.
Mr. Dalton does he deserve the overwhelming support, whether or not we're putting him in a star position, but that we are putting him in a position of support?
Trust.
Trust. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Mr. Neese.
Ken, does he win more support if he was a little bit more of a dynamic dude, like a Russell Wilson type?
Yeah.
As opposed to.
I think sizzle always trumps steak. I just think that's the society we live in. And if he had a little more sizzle to him, I think it might. But I think what they did is they got the guy in, and I think they got him Bengalized. I think they got him indoctrinated and they got him fixed up to understand that you don't say anything that gets yourself or the team in trouble. But if he came in here like Boomer, I think this guy would own the town. I really do. I think now you look at him and he's just a guy, you know. But I think that thing.
And I think he says the right things.
He does, but I think when they don't win, they look at him, they think he's like Opie. When he wins and he says that stuff, then all of a sudden, like he's me. So I think it depends how the team does, as opposed to if the team does lousy and he's, you know, with it, then I think people would like him.
I mean, because you talk about like quarterbacks weathering the storm right now, all the controversy surrounding Russell Wilson, he's the guy coming out in the end looking.
They're pretty good yesterday.
Yeah. So.
You know, now they hate Marshawn Lynch up there.
Right.
That came up. Anyway, so that poll is up there right now, and we can vote on WCPO.com.
Yes, sir.
Matt, what else do you have planned for us right now?
We're going to go. We're going to have. Hold on. We're going to go back to one of our first return guests.
Really?
Remember Megatron?
Yes.
Okay, Calvin, open the Skype. Are you with me, Calvin? You're setting up your camera there. You got it all together?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to get right now.
Okay, there you go. Take it.
Calvin Johnson from our
Megatron.
sister state. Yes, Megatron from WMAR.
That's right.
ABC Baltimore, or as they say out there, Baltimore.
ABC 2, that's right.
Yes. Calvin, do you guys feel like you got jobbed yesterday?
I have a really strong opinion about that. You talk about the pass interference call.
Yeah.
It's my strong opinion. You can't throw your man to the ground. That was pass interference. Yes, it was.
Really?
He grabbed his jersey, he extended his arm, and he threw him to the ground. That's pass interference.
Yeah,
if
but
looking at the objective, watching the game with my son yesterday, we saw a touchdown. We're all excited. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, there's a flag there. They showed the replay. I said, that's pass interference. Now, I'm kind of surprised, though, because this morning and last night, all the talk in Baltimore is, that was a controversial call. Did the Ravens get jobbed? I'm like, that's the rule. That's the rule. You can't. To me, it was blatant. If they didn't call it, I'd been upset.
But but here's my problem with it. It may be our problem, but I'll own it. That is so. Yes, you're right. But the interpretation of that is so vague. We saw the game right after that. It happened in Pittsburgh, Indy. They didn't call it. You know, to me, you got to be consistent with this stuff.
You're right, but it's like baseball. What's consistent? You know, as long as your crew's consistent. To me, the rule is, A, you put your hands on the guy, you grab his jersey, but the key is extending your arms. If you watch that play, Stephen Smith extended his arms. Well, was his defender, and I'm not even sure which defender it was, did he exaggerate? Was it an acting job? Maybe. Yeah. But he put himself in that position by extending his arms and throwing him to the ground. The other problem I had with that play was I don't think Steve Smith had to do that. He already had his man beat. Yeah. He had position on him. He had him boxed out already. It may not have been a touchdown, but he certainly would have caught the ball and it would have set up for the field goal. So I thought he didn't need to do that to get open. He was already open.
Yeah. What are they saying about the game itself out there in Baltimore? Because Baltimore now has lost twice to Cincinnati, lost the lead in the AFC North. Is it gloom and doom in Baltimore after this loss?
For me, not at all. I'm going to tell you why. Because typically when you lose to a division opponent, you're talking about tiebreaker scenarios. Yeah. There's no tiebreaker here. Unless the Ravens have a tie also, like the Bengals have a tie, there won't be a tiebreaker this year. The Bengals will either win it or they'll lose it. We're not going to finish with the same record. Right. So to me, this loss doesn't really do a lot. We're still a half a game out of first place. If we do our job and we win what we're supposed to win, and we need some help, obviously, if the Bengals lose, we'll be right there. But this, to me, doesn't, hurt our chances of winning the division at all. We're still right there. We're not 2 games out.
Yeah.
It didn't bury us. And again, the key to me is there's no tiebreaker effect unless we have a tie also.
And what's interesting about this, you still have more wins than Cincinnati.
We still have more wins. We have 2 division losses. But again, the tiebreaker scenario won't come into play this year. It may come into play with the Steelers. We're 5-3. They're 5-3. We played them this Sunday night. If you remember, we played the Steelers after we lost to you guys opening day, and we got a win. We played well. We didn't play great yesterday. Flacco had 2 interceptions. I don't have a problem at all with the 4th down going for it right there early in the game.
Did you think they should have run the ball?
They should, yes.
Oh, my God. They were running the ball at will, it seemed like.
Sometimes these coaches make it too difficult.
Oh, my God.
It's 4th and goal from the 1. You lean forward. Flacco's 6-something.
And they were running the ball well.
Look what Dalton did late in the game. They was able to push him 2 yards into the end zone.
Yeah.
And that was a 4th down play.
Yeah.
I think we should have just made it simplified, a simple running play. If you want to do maybe a pitch out maybe, or some kind of, fake the inside handoff and flip it out to the left or the right. But the pass play, so you're going from being 1 yard out of the end zone to dropping back 5-6 yards and then relying on 2 players to do the job. Well, actually more than 2 when you talk about the offensive line. So I just thought they made it too difficult. I have no problem going for it. Just give me a simple play, not that.
And they did it later in the game. It was 3rd and 4th quarter when it was 3rd and 1. You remember that? And they threw like the 30-yarder down the field.
Exactly.
Again, I was at the game, and everybody around me was like, why aren't they running the ball? They were running the ball at will yesterday, it seemed like.
It's easy. You know what, though? It's easy to say that, but then I watched the Steelers game later last night. Steelers had a situation. They're trying to ice the game late, kind of put the nail in the coffin. And they had a 4th down play, 4th and inches. They threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful play. So, it can go either way. Really, it's just about executing. If the Ravens would have scored right there on the pass play, I had no problem with it. But they didn't. So we could talk about that.
I want you to crystal ball a little bit here, Calvin. Bengals still have to play the Steelers twice. Can the Bengals, or do you believe the Bengals will sweep the Steelers?
No. Steelers are a much better team.
Than the Bengals?
No, I'm not going to say much better than the Bengals. Bengals are a very good football team. But the Steelers aren't going to get swept. I'm surprised. But like this, as good as the Bengals are, they swept the Ravens. They were 2 plays from getting swept by the Ravens.
Right.
Both of those games, we make a play late, we win. But that's you got to look at the whole, not the individual parts. And I take my losses like a man. We lost both of those games. I think right now you look at the Ravens, awesome football team. I'm a fan, obviously, so I'm a little biased. But I think we're still that one playmaker on defense away from being that team, that Super Bowl threat. You look at yesterday's game, we take the lead late, maybe some help from the Bengals but with the turnovers, but the defensive O with the Ravens would have shut it down right there. Wouldn't have been any question. Wouldn't have been any, we saw the long pass, the 3rd and 3 long pass play you guys had to set up the touchdown. The first game against you guys wouldn't have been that long pass to Green. But again, I'm not complaining. I think sometimes as fans, we kind of have short memories. The Ravens won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then they stripped the team down to the bare bones. And we're right back to being competitive again. Yeah. So we'll be there again. I will enjoy I always enjoy the journey. Right now the journey is, can my football team return to Super Bowl contender? We can do that. So right now, watching that journey. Yeah. Again, we're a player or 2 away from being right where we need to be. But right now, I say we'll make the playoffs probably, but I don't look at it as a Super Bowl threat. But that could change in November or December.
Yeah.
But we need give me another draft, give me another offseason of super free agent picks, and maybe we'll be a little bit better. But right now, we're just that one player away. Again, one player away from sweeping the Bengals in both of those games.
You guys need some help with the secondary, it looks like.
Oh, no question. Especially now with Jimmy Smith being out. There's no question about that. Secondary, that's why I would focus my attention in the draft. I mean, there's not much we can do about that right now.
Well, Calvin, it was great join. Anything we can send you here from the home office, like paper clips, stickies, anything you guys need out there?
I was at the home office a few weeks ago, and I love it there. So if you can send us some, you guys have those really cool scripts, wine stoppers. I love those little wine stoppers.
Okay, we'll get you. We'll get some of those.
Have people here who love some wine. One of our anchors here, I don't know if you can see her, Megan Knight. She's a big wine fan, so send us some of those. So I can give them to the team. We got the next Charles sitting back there somewhere. She's a wine fan too. So we got a lot of wine fans. Send us some of those wine stoppers.
We will. We'll send you some wine too.
Hey, we're going on air in 1 minute, so I got to get out of here. But it's nice talking to you guys.
See you, Calvin.
Calvin.
I love talking about the journey. The journey for Bengal fans, for me, has been a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like I was born in 72.
Yeah.
Like the journey is
Right.
it's getting long.
Like in the North Atlantic, with the waves coming over
Let's
the
get
dock.
there at least once, please.
We had to get off of Calvin because I was getting motion sickness there.
Well, you
for
could
a
tell
little
something was going down in studio.
It was.
You could tell like somebody's like, all right, wrap this up.
We're now joined, or will be shortly, by Mr. Satin, who's been out on the streets of Cincinnati. You know, whenever that happens, trouble is certainly not far away. Mr. Satin has come up with, through the help of some fans, his all-time Bengal dream team.
Oh.
Let's take a look.
Welcome to the Mr. Satin's all-time Bengals Dream Team. At quarterback, Boomer Esiason took us to a Super Bowl. Great person on and off the field. Wide receivers, number 1, we all love him. He's playing today, A.J. Green. He goes deep, he goes short, he goes over the middle. Wide receiver number 2, Isaac Curtis. Bengals legend. Wide receiver number 3, Chris Collinsworth. I always get the Chris Collinsworth steak when I'm at the precinct. Wide receiver number 4, Chad Johnson. Ocho Cinco. Everybody loved it when he wore the Hall of Fame jacket. At fullback, Icky Woods. The Shuffle. Everybody loves the Shuffle. At running back, James Brooks. There was never a more powerful back in Cincinnati Bengals history. At running back, Rudy Johnson. Signed one of my books in the airport. Love you, Rudy. Tight end, Tony McGee. Best blocking and receiving tight end for the Bengals of all time. At offensive line, all of them, Munoz. Munoz. Kicker, the living legend, Jim Breach. Never missed a kick. Punter, he's still playing, Lee Johnson. Still playing today. At nose tackle, Tim Krumrie. Breaking your leg in the Super Bowl? Winner in my book. Defensive tackle, Geno Atkins. A damn good player. Defensive tackle, Damato Pecco. Crazy hair, defensive line, boom. At linebacker, Vontez Burfict. Bad ass. Linebacker, Takeo Spikes. A mammoth in the middle. At linebacker, Reggie Williams. 8 quarterbacks for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. DB, Lamar Parrish. One of the greatest of all time. At safety, David Fulcher. The hardest crushing safety ever. DB, Ken Riley. Don't go over the middle on Riley. And coach for Mr. Satin's dream team, Sam Wyche. You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati.
You're seeing an entire fleet of doctors, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Brian helped put that package together. Pretty happy with that.
Damato Pecco is the all-time leading defensive tackle?
One of them.
One of like maybe 50.
We got Krumrie in there.
Yeah, we do.
I like watching this guy. I mean, he has on and off games, but the hair, he's getting back there playing some fullback. I love it. He's got good energy.
How about Eddie Edwards?
How about Eddie Edwards?
Could you go Ross Browner?
He was an end.
Yeah.
Linebackers?
Also tight end.
Yeah.
Rodney Holman and Dan Ross.
Yeah. You just went completely nuts on McGee.
Was that Odell Thurman you had in there?
No, we had Fulcher in there.
No, linebacker.
We had Takeo Spikes. I grew up Takeo. I like watching him. Yeah, and we also had Reggie Williams in there. Perfect. I like watching. He's been injured back and forth.
Montez Burke, he's been here like 15 minutes.
I know. Let's get him here 20.
Maybe he's saying pickings are slim.
I think Rudy Johnson was only in there so you could.
Because he has a Rudy Johnson jersey.
Maybe maybe right last name, Pete Johnson.
Yeah. Well,
When you said he was you said.
We know Charles Alexander's not part of that.
Who did you say was Brooks? You said Brooks was the most powerful running back I think that the Bengals ever had. He was great, but he wasn't the most powerful.
Dylan
He was small and fast.
Yeah, but was Dylan really a Bengal?
But Pete
Yeah.
Johnson,
He was on the team,
Pete
but was he a
Johnson was
Bengal?
the most powerful. Pete Johnson.
Oh, Pete Johnson was awesome.
I
don't know if
love
he's-
Brooks. Just
Oh, yeah.
He was
I mean-
great. That's not how you would describe
I
it.
wasn't enamored with Corey Dillon, the person, but he was
He
Great
was
back.
he
very
was
good.
like the best player on a lot of lousy Bengal teams.
awful
Ah.
teams.
Dolphins
See, I couldn't bring myself to it. I was more of a Rudy guy. I saw him at the airport.
Rudy.
He signed a book. I thought-
Yeah, we know that. We got that.
That's how you get on the list.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He was a
Ken-
nice guy. I
Ken,
thought,
for what it's worth,
he's on my
Ken-
dream team.
For what it's worth, Ken, you're on his list of best sports announcers in town.
That's
too.
frightening.
Because
What
you,
book
you,
did
you
he
sit
sign?
next to him every day.
Like the
Yeah.
Bengals, there's only been like 7 over the last 25.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Mr.
hey.
Satin, what book did you have that he signed?
That's true.
Oh, that's a great
Was it like
great
Rudy's
question.
autobiography or something?
Bengals by
Just happen to have it.
by
The
Rudy.
best of Penthouse Forum.
Sky Mall.
I still keep I still keep both those underneath my pillow. It's great.
So Satin, as you put these teams together,
Yes.
this team together, what we're saying here, there was no rhyme or reason. Statistics really didn't play into it. That there was some emotion, and then there were some haphazard things that might have happened to you personally. But there was really, I got to agree with the quarterback's a tough call between Boomer and Ken Anderson. I don't know. You know?
Awesome.
Right, but I mean, the Satin generation. I think we're
The Satin generation.
we're a little bit of
Generation
past
X.
Ken's generation when it comes to his
What do you mean,
quarterback.
my
No,
generation?
no, Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
What about Tony McGee at tight end?
Yeah, I went back and forth on that one. I really did. I went back and forth on that one.
Yeah?
With Holman
Between
and,
that and Gresham.
No,
Yeah, for him.
Gresham,
No,
oh my
Rodney
goodness.
Holman was as good as they came at that.
Oliver
right.
Gibson at defensive line. You passed over him.
I did, and I
Mike
I
Reed.
went with a little newer blood on that one. I think that's me getting excited a little bit there.
Yeah.
Sam
Adams didn't make the cut.
He did not. Maybe a little bit of that could have been I was eating a sandwich and
Yeah.
something fell on the keyboard on that one.
By the way, how many times have you been to the precinct to order the Collinsworth?
Oh, I actually had the Collinsworth and I loved it. I had it on my birthday a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous. I got the
that the one with
extra
crab on
the
it?
mushrooms with it.
Yeah.
You get the side of that on
Highly
there.
recommended, yes.
Yeah, it was great. Another guy, he was like 90 years old. He had same birthday, sitting right next to me.
Did
Really?
he order the Collins?
He
Was
did,
he-
but I
was he
gave
in the
him a
Ken-
little piece of mind. I said, "Have
Was
a
he
little
in
piece of
Ken's
Collinsworth."
generation?
Yeah. That guy probably has a better chance of going back to the precinct than you do, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, that's
Hey,
good.
but I'll take if anybody wants to go to the precinct and then buy me dinner. I'm okay with
What
that.
I liked about his segment was highly produced. I mean,
Flames
really,
came out of
the production.
everywhere.
of it.
That's this guy's.
Oh, yeah.
He's responsible.
Oh, you are,
for,
Mr. Satin
at
sent me a
fault,
text
if you wanna
message and
go.
said, "Make sure you add explosions."
Yes, yes.
So I added some explosions.
Bam! It happened.
It was almost devilish.
Please bring back more tweets next week.
Oh,
Classic.
those are all in the work.
Yeah.
That's the fans out there helping us out on that one for sure.
Satin, it's always good to see you, man. Good work.
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Satin, ladies
Appreciate
and
it.
gentlemen.
These guys right here.
All right. Chris,
Yeah.
it's always great having
I'm sorry,
you
I
here.
can't add anything else to the
You
show.
ca- no, you brought so much. First of all, you're the first guy I think that's come in here that wore cufflinks. So I think that's big. He's got
I feel
cufflinks.
naked without a tie on. No offense,
No,
Yeah,
but
no,
I mean,
look
the
like- I get it.
cufflinks are big. Now remember, download the app because you can listen to this in your car on the way to work. That's huge. Besides that, the WCPO app is like the greatest app in the world.
It is.
Because it has everything on there, breaking news, weather, everything. Plus, you get to listen to the show. It's also on demand at WCPO.com. So if you missed this show, part of it, or previous shows, you can download it then. Thanks to the crew here today. Thank you, Furniture Fair, because this stuff is just so great to sit on. Very comfortable on a Monday as we get ready to begin another week and get ready for yet another Bengals win on Sunday against Jacksonville. The hay is out of the barn, the pig's out of the barn, and we're making for the highway. Thanks for watching the Flying Pigskin Show on WCPO.com.